Hello my fellow knitters. Today I'm going to be taking a bit of a closer look at what's on my needles this autumn. I have got the Felix Cardigan by Savory knits, the Oslo hat by Petite knits. I've got the Ranunculus, but I'm working on a Christmas special, so I'll show you my progress on that, and also a toe-up sock. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, stay tuned. Hi everybody, I'm Debbie Kershaw and I'm going to talk about my autumn knits now. This year I've managed to knit the sea glass sweater and the halibut sweater, and those were quite involved projects. I did those kind of like one after the other. I also did a Fair Isle hat. So nothing too simple or easy, and I was thinking my next project definitely a bit more simple please. But I also realised I had a lack of cardigans in the wardrobe and I definitely need those. So was on the lookout for one. Looking on Ravelry, as you do, as I do anyway, I came across the Felix Cardigan by Savory knits, and it was just what I needed. It's a simple stockinette, it's top down, and I do like a top down construction these days. And it's a raglan. And the raglan has got these lovely little eyelets. I'm not sure if you can see them there. I'm going to take a closer look at this in a minute. And they're quite simple, you know, just a simple row of 3 eyelets going down the raglan shaping. But I thought that was really rather sweet, and it just gives you a bit more of an interest. So I'm knitting this in drops Nepal. This is a worsted weight yarn, or like a 10-ply equivalent. And it's coming up really beautifully. I love the colour Bordeaux. And obviously, you know, we would be picking up the neckband and the button band afterwards. But let's take a bit of a closer look now. I'm going to give you a close-up at these eyelets and the construction of it. So let's take a little closer look at this construction. So as mentioned, it is a top-down raglan. You're going back and forth on the needle, so you are knitting flat. There were some German short rows at the top there to give that a bit of shape, and as you can see, that's coming through nicely now. And then of course our increases are raglan, and this is what attracted me to the pattern, these lovely eyelets down the sleeves. The sides of the sleeves and the sides of the body, of course. It's a lovely way. It's very simple, but it's a nice way to increase, and it just gives it a bit of interest. I did want a more simple cardigan, and this is fitting the bill very nicely. That does not mean that I won't be doing a little bit of embroidery or something on it, because you know what I'm like. I always have to change it a little bit, don't I? But I'm liking the Drops Nepal. So Drops Nepal in the Bordeaux colourway. It's like a reddy brown, a browny red. Hard to describe actually, but yeah, it's not completely brown, but it's not completely red. So yeah, I'm liking that. I think that's going to be a really lovely cardigan. And I can see me wearing this in the autumn and winter, because it's just another layer, isn't it? It's just another nice layer. Now, it's quite a thick fabric that you get. It is like an equivalent of 10-ply, so it is like an Aran weight, if you like, or a worsted weight, if you like. And I'm knitting on 5mm needles, and it's giving me, and it's still soft though, and it's still giving you that kind of drape, so it won't be a very stiff garment. And I'm looking forward to choosing the buttons for it. You know, once we get, I mean, obviously I haven't split for the sleeves yet, but once we get the ribbon, the neckband on and the front bands on, I'm looking forward to choosing some really lovely buttons for this. So I'm enjoying it. After the complicated things I have done this year, I'm actually enjoying this nice, mainly stockinette with a little bit of interest cardigan, and hope I'm going to be wearing this by the end of November. So this is my first time working with Drops Nepal. I have worked with Drops in the past, and I don't have any issues with it. I know some people do. This is quite a nice soft worsted weight, Aran weight yarn. I would recommend it. It was also very economical. It's economical anyway, but they had a sale on. You get 75 metres in your 50-gram balls, so you do have to buy quite a few balls, but at the price it was well worth doing. I've also seen another YouTuber say that why not use a cheaper yarn like this to knit up something to see how it comes out, learn all your lessons, and then if you want to do that, then in a much more expensive yarn, you won't be wasting your yarn in any way, making mistakes because you've already made them. And I thought that was a great idea. Not a bad idea. Although I am definitely going to be wearing this because it's very soft, very nice, and coming out lovely on that cardigan. And as I said, I can't wait to get some beautiful buttons for it. And that's going to be half the pleasure. Now, I have seen an after-salt buttonhole. Midori Hiroshi has released a new cardigan pattern. Let's put it here, it's the popcorn. I've purchased this pattern, but I wanted something more simple at the moment. I think I might be doing this in January. It's a little bit more complicated. And she has got an after-salt buttonhole. And I'm going to try that. But I think that's great because sometimes you don't always get them lined up. It's not so easy to get them lined up, is it, when you've sewn your buttons on, getting that lined up. So I'm going to see how that turns out and I'll let you know. So that, yes, that's come out very nicely. So next I was working on the Oslo hat, and it's by Petite Knit, and I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been around for quite a long time, but I haven't knit one yet. So let's take a closer look. I'm loving the yarn I'm using for this one. It's a wool I've not used before, Gotland yarn, like from the Gotland Sheep. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so let's take a little closer look at the Oslo hat and as far as I've got. First things I want to do is show you the beautiful yarn. I discovered this year a new hand dyer in my locality. So they're based in the next county, Lancashire, but very close to Yorkshire border. And they do sell, the lady who dyes this does sell, well, rather her husband does, which is good, at local markets. So I actually picked this up at my local market in Hebden Bridge on a Thursday, which does have a few craft stalls there. And this is actually Gotland wool. So the sheep brand is Gotland. I've not tried it before. It was new, but I just fell in love with the colours. So I think this is gorgeous, and they had so many colours. I've got another little clip actually I'm going to put at the end for you just to show the actual stall, because she does do chunky as well. This is, I would say this is, they said DK, but this is more of a sport weight. This is definitely a sport weight. So I've used it for my Oslo hat, which is knit in fingering weight. And instead of a 3mm needle, I've put it onto a 3.5, which I think is great. So with the Oslo hat, I've got my double brim here at the moment. You cast on, you knit your brim in stockinette quite deep, and the pattern will tell you how many to cast on, of course, and how many inches or centimetres to keep knitting to. And once you reach that, you then knit the cast on edge stitch with the corresponding stitch on your needle. So you knit all along and the brim becomes attached, and then you get this lovely double yarn. Then what you do is you continue knitting for a few centimetres, the pattern will tell you, and then she gets you to reverse yourself. So you do like a double stitch like a German short row, and you reverse and start knitting the other way in stockinette. I've only done a little bit of stockinette so far, I hope you can see that. But what that means is when I get right up to where I'm going to start doing the decreases, this brim will fold again up on itself, and it will be 3 layers of stockinette. And I am just going, I'm so pleased about that, because my ears do get rather cold in the wind up here. It's quite windy up in Yorkshire here, so I'm really looking forward to having this as my winter hat. The colours are just blowing me away. Absolutely love how it's coming out. And I love the construction of this. Now this pattern's been around for quite some time. I have only just even considered knitting it. I don't know why, but there we are. I saw quite a few projects of people doing it, and I thought that is a lovely brim. I love that brim. So this is the Oslo hat by Petite Knits. I've got some more of this to cake up. As you can see, though, I quite like knitting with balls rather than cakes, and I do have a little bowl it goes into. I do not put the yarn through the swirl of the ball because I find it sticks on that and it can split your yarn. But what I do is just keep it coming out the other side. It just comes over and it keeps the ball nice. I just find knitting with a ball much better than a cake. It's just a preference, it's just a personal preference. But there you are. So this is the Oslo hat. That's as far as I've got. I am wanting to finish this by the end of October because that's when the weather's going to change. It's still fairly warm actually at the moment. You know, it's not at all bad. You just need a lightweight jacket at the moment. But it will get cold. It most definitely will in November, and I want this hat to be ready for then. So very much looking forward to finishing it. Yes, so I'm actually quite excited about a hat. Don't usually get too excited about hats, but this one is going to be quite special and quite warm, and it's because I'm using this beautiful yarn. It's been dyed so nicely. As I mentioned in the clip, it's Gotland wool. So this lady has a flock of Gotland sheep. They come from Scandinavia, and in its natural position, which she does sell actually, sorry, its natural condition, it's like a grey curly yarn. The grey's really lovely, so I've got plans to be knitting with that in the future, but the chunky things she's got too. So this is my Oslo hat. Can't wait to finish it, but let's see if we can have a look at some pictures. See if I can get some pictures of her other stuff, because the other colourways are just also beautiful. What she doesn't do at the moment, I don't know if she's got any plans to, she doesn't really name them. So when you go back, if you wanted to go back and get a similar like colourway, you need to take this with you and like put it against the yarns that they've got on there and choose one. But you can do, because she has the same, this is kind of like an iridescent purple, lime greeny, dark green, mauve, beautiful greys. And she's always got this one on. I've seen it there a few times now. But I think they're really exciting. She's really an exciting dyer. She dyes so beautifully, and it's coming out really lovely too. So keep your eye on this channel, because I think I'm going to be knitting quite a lot more with the Catlow yarns. So that's that. So next, let's have a look at the Ranunculus. I've shown it to you before. I have mentioned that this is a special Christmas jumper of mine, and I'm doing a sort of tartan-esque on the bottom. So we talked about that last time. I think I'd gotten down to the first green. So now, as you can see, I'm just down to the second dark red. And after this second dark red, I will have enough length and I will be doing the ribbing. Obviously then picking up the sleeves, and I'm going to be putting this also onto the bottom of the sleeve. I'll then be vertically putting in a line, and I think I'm going to do that with a sort of what I'm calling half duplicate stitch. So I'm going to be taking like a yellow up, like that sort of tartan, or maybe a lighter green up, and then that will be a lovely Christmas ranunculus. Well, I hope so. It's a bit of an experiment. I thought, why not try? You can always rip it back to there and just carry on with the plain one if you want to. But I do need this for December the 11th. That is when I have got my work's Christmas party, and I'd like to be wearing this. So I need to give it a little bit more of attention in November. I've done a little bit in October, but I got a bit distracted with my Felix Cardigan, I must admit. So I do need to give that some more attention, which I will. Okay, so last but not least, I have a pair of socks on the go, so let's take a little bit of a closer look at that. Right, last but not least, I have got a sock on the go. This is actually going to be my own design on the top of this sock, but I decided to try toe up because I've not done that before, and it's quite nice construction. I quite like the Turkish cast on, learnt that, and I prefer that much better than the Kitchener stitch, I'm going to be honest, so far. Working up, I think it might be a little big for me, but this is my first one, so it's a bit of a trial at the moment. But I've got up to past the heel flap, and I'm up to the leg now. And I am at the point where I'm just going to be putting a colour work on here. And the colour work are some lovely little sheep in the snow. And I think you're going to like it. I'm certainly going to like it. So I'm using Marie Wallen British Breeds wool. It's pure wool. There is no nylon in this. I have been watching a few YouTubers lately, and a friend of mine showed me her socks, and she has never ever knit with a sock yarn. And she said, why would you do that? The wool is much stronger and lasts longer if you care for it properly and you care for your feet properly. So I said, oh, I'm not sure about that, you know, because in my mind we were all like using sock yarn, which I've done for many years, but it does wear down, even with the nylon. So I've decided to try it. Who's the YouTuber I was watching? I think it was Knitting Like a Cave Woman, and she had all of her socks that she's never used sock yarn with nylon in. She uses the Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, which is another lovely wool, but this is a really lovely wool. The Marie one, I find it a little bit softer, I must admit. It isn't the cheapest, but if you just want a pair of lovely luxurious socks, why not treat yourself to some of this lovely wool? Now, I did knit my Fair Isle hat that you might have seen that video earlier, which was a Marie Wallen pattern, and that's a lovely hat. It fits beautifully, and it's, after I've washed it, it's gone so soft, fit into my head nicely, and I'm hoping that these socks are going to do the same. So, Knitting Like a Cave Woman, I have to shout out to you and thank you, because you know, she was saying, look, take care of your feet. If you don't let that big toenail grow out long, you're not going to get the holes in the top. And she's right, because sometimes we can all get, you know, we've got very busy lives. We all get a little bit lazy. We don't do these things. And she was talking about using the pumice stone, you know, on your heels and making sure you don't have that rough skin. And your socks then are actually going to last longer doing that, as well as looking after them. She had, I saw something like 20 pairs. She'd had for years and years and years, you know, some of them 10 years, and she'd only ever had to mend a couple of times. She'd only had to do a little bit of darning, and they were mended. And I thought, I am going to try this. It actually just, you know, when the penny drops and you think, that makes sense to me. That makes total sense to me. So this is a test knit. I'm trying it out. I have put this on my foot already, and it does fit. Slightly baggy, so I may have needed to do the next size down. Not certain, but I'm going to carry on, because once I wash it and, you know, it felts a little bit, I think it might actually be a good fit. So I hope you're excited to see the little sheep when they appear. I will show you. And I will be looking for some test knitters. If you're interested, please let me know in the comments. So my first toe up sock, and I'm using 100% wool, and I'll let you know how it turns out, and when I'm wearing them I'll let you know how they wear. I'm quite excited about it in this yarn. There's no merino in it. I actually feel that merino isn't that hard wearing. It's lovely and soft on your feet, but I'm not sure it really wears very well. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but all my other socks have been knit in merino, and there is some wear. I do tend to wear a lot of socks in the house in my slippers, though, I must admit. I don't particularly stuff them into boots and trainers and things like that. I usually wear some shop bought socks for that, because I don't want to spoil my hand knitted socks. So we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to leave you now and see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Do subscribe to the channel so you can keep abreast of the progress on these projects. And I'm going to leave you now with a bit of clippage of the Catlow yarns when I first came across them, and show you some of their other gorgeous yarn. And a few nice photos of the happy valley that I live in. See what you think. See you next time, guys. Thank you for watching.